ଗୁଡ଼ାରେ ଆତିରେ ଯାଉଥିଲେ ସାହେବମାନେ ସେମାନେ ସ୍ୱର୍ଣ୍ଣ ମାରିଲେ ସ୍ୱର୍ଣ୍ଣ ମାରିକରି ସେଟା 20 ଫୁଟ ହଣା ହେଲା ବିଟି ଅମଲ ନେ ଥିଲାଟା ଜାଣିଲ
নুন নেলে
ହଁ ଲୁଣ ଦେଲେ ସେ ମାରିକି
নুন
ମାରବା
কল করবু
ମତେ ବିକି ଗଲେ
মনমুসে আইনু
ମାରବା ଜାଣିଲ
নুন নেলে ঢুঙ্গিয়া নেলে নমেনে নেলা সেপাই সে কহিলা যে আমি নুন কোণ করবি রে ঢুঙ্গিয়া কোণ করবু আর তেলে কিনবু ঘোড়াইলে কিনবু বলি করে কহিলা কি সে মন্ডল
Babusum kot kita situ kan lam ye nyarme kan apa mana lah si kurang dana
Hi friends, I am Jitu Mishra. I am a trained archaeologist and co-founder of Virasat-e-Hind Foundation. Today I am going to make a presentation on the prospect of sustainable tourism in Highland Odisha. So here we see a collage of 4 pictures. The top row pictures actually talk about mass tourism, where you see a lot of vehicles, and on the left side you see there are people who are actually visiting, and this is actually creating a lot of nuisance. People are ignorant about the ethics of travel, so they just litter around, and you see more carbon footprints because there is a large number of vehicles which are parked, and there is a noise pollution. So this is definitely not right for the society to adhere. Whereas when we see at the bottom pictures, so you see there are guests who are actually gone to a place, a scenic place, where they are interacting with the local people, the natives people, and they are actually immersing with their stories. They go by walking, and there is hardly any carbon footprint. There is a small group, there is not much of damage to the environment, and then they also come with an experience which they are never going to forget. So they are bonding a relationship with the natives. So here we are going to talk about the prospects of sustainable tourism in Highland Odisha, Central Highland Odisha. As you know, Odisha is a coastal state located on the eastern sea coast of India, and surprisingly Odisha has retained most of its rural character. 33% of Odisha's landmass is forested, thickly forested, and when we talk about forest, the Central Highland Odisha has the largest concentration of forest, native forest, and this area is also inhabited by Aboriginal tribes like Kons, which we will be seeing in the next slides. So it's not very far from Bhubaneswar. Within 5 to 6 hours you can reach, which has a major airport, and it is also approachable from other cities like Visakhapatnam and Raipur and even Kolkata. So Central Highland Odisha is actually going to be the focus of this presentation. So let's begin with the geography of Central Highland Odisha. So when we talk about Central Highland Odisha, as I told you in the previous slide, it has got a high density of forest, and also is a land of Aboriginal tribe. So now, as you see in this image, in this collage, on the right side you will see beautiful rolling hills. They are breathtaking, and these rolling hills were not accessible once upon a time, not very until recently they were not accessible. Now you have very good roads. So this is what is the USP of Central Highland Odisha. And in these hills you have small and big hamlets, small villages, where you find people like different tribes, and they are agriculturalists, and also they are animal herders, and there are also craftspeople. So this is how is Central Highland Odisha. So this Central Highland Odisha is rich in biodiversity. You have varieties of wildflowers and of different colors and fragrance. You have rich birds, native birds. You have also animals, and you have varieties of forest. So this is how the biodiversity of Central Highland Odisha is very rich, very unique. In Central Highland Odisha, you see beautiful forest and terrace agriculture fields, especially rice fields, which is again breathtaking from the hilltop if you are there. And you have beautiful hills, dense forest, and around these forests and these paddy fields, you have beautiful hamlets of the tribal communities. Then you have in Central Highland Odisha beautiful waterfalls, because many of the rivers which originates in the high mountains of Central Highland Odisha flow through the forested corridors. On both sides you have dense forest, and there are beautiful waterfalls which are breathtaking, and it attracts a large number of local tourists, because they are not much known to outsiders. So they have huge potential for travelers. Then you have in Central Highland Odisha rustic villages, where the people belonging to different tribes, especially Kond, they live, and they are, as I said before, so they are mostly farmers and animal herders. So you have beautiful rice fields, you have surrounded by dense forest. Then you have such kind of elevated manchas, or platforms, where they watch throughout the night during the harvest seasons, because there are animals, especially elephants and different kind of herbivorous animals. They intrude to the farmlands, and to protect their farmlands from the animal intruders, they have to remain vigilant throughout the night, and that is how they erect. So you will find such kind of structures, temporary structures, and cattle pans all around the landscapes. So this is how this place is very rich in the local rustic tribal culture. So far we have seen the geographical diversity of High Central Odisha. Now we are going to see the people who are living there. So there is the whole of High Central Odisha is a tribal dominant area. So the main tribe are the Konds. So there are three types of Konds. One is the Dongriya Kond, which live in the Niyamgiri hill. Then you have Kutia Kond, which live in the Belghar mountain region. The Desia or Panga Konds, they live in the valley floors, the mountain valley floors. So they live, and their population is the highest among the three branches of Kond tribe. So here we see the habitat in Central Odisha. So as we had discussed before, the whole area is thickly forested and having high mountains of Eastern Ghat, ranging from 500 or 600 meter up to 1200 meters in height from mid-sea level. And here on the mountain top you will not find settlements, but in between valleys you will find settlements. Mostly they are hamlets, and there are few big villages, but you will find mostly small hamlets, and they are all spread over the valley floors, mountain valley floors. And when you go there, you will find beautiful houses of the tribal communities, and their houses and the villages are also fenced by the wooden post. The women of all the branches of Kond tribes are known for their unique tattoos. So the Panga Konds especially, which you see in the bottom right, is known for the face tattoos, and which is associated with the fertility card. So there is a beautiful legend which is going to be discussed in one of the presentations. And then you have in their arms, in their palms, and in their legs, and in their foots. So these are the different types of tattoo you see. Besides the Kond tribe, you have also the Gond people living here. The population compared to the Gonds are very less. They have migrated historically from the central Indian region, especially from Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and they have also unique tattoo traditions in their arms which you find. And there is during the different phases of womanhood, they do different kind of tattoos which is called godna in their dialect, in their language. And these tattoo marks are actually very very important from they are part of the art culture, the tribal folk art culture of the region. Then you have beautiful wall murals. Both the Kons, the Panga or Desia or Kutia, or and even the Dongariyas, they have beautiful murals which you find in the walls. So on the left side you find this is actually a Dongriya Kon house, where you find different kind of triangles, which is also found their shawls. This design is also found in their shawls, which we'll see later. And these triangles represent the hills, and then you have the rivers which are actually in crisscross pattern. Then you have their villages which you find in the honeycomb shape, and then you have in between you have rivers and valleys. So this is how they represent their cosmology or their world. So this is the Dongriya Kond mural, and on the right side you find the Kutia Kond mural, where you also find there is not much of elaborate discussions, but you find the depiction of the triangles which again represent the mountains, because the whole area is mountainous. So the Dongriya Kons are known for their Kapad Gandha shawl, which is very very unique, and it is not much known. Odisha has a very rich tradition of textiles, or the ikat fabric which we call. It's found mostly in the western part of Odisha and also in parts of coastal Odisha. But the tribal inhabitants of this high central Odisha also known for their unique weaving culture. And the Kapad Gandha shawl, which actually depicts about the landscape, the culture, like the red signifies the bloodshed, and then you have these triangles which represent the mountains, which we also see in the murals which we discussed just now. So this is how I think the Kapad Gandha shawl is very known for. And when people go there, the travelers go there, they can actually buy directly from these from the weavers, from the Dongriya women, the shawls. And they are not only aesthetically appealing, but they are also, the durability wise also, they are going to be stay for a very very long time. Dokra is another important craft of this part of Odisha. And Dokra, or what we call Serapedu in French, is a bronze cast, and it is the oldest form of craft in India, apart from the terracotta, which we find at the Indus Valley site of Mohenjo-daro, the famous bronze dancing girl, which is now exhibited in the National Museum, Delhi. So this area is also known for its unique Dokra craft. There are specific villages and the communities which make Dokra craft, and these Dokra crafts now of course people buy as gift items, as decor items, but they are traditionally the Kons tribe, the people, they buy from the artisans, and during the wedding they are sent as gifts to the bridegroom's house with the bride. So that is how the Dokra crafts are made. And then you have also various gods and goddesses made out of Dokra craft, which are offered to in different rituals and different festivals. Dhangra Dhangri dance is one of the most important cultural aspects of the tribal living here, especially among the Dongriya and the Kons, Dongriya Kons and the Panga and Kutia Kons. So they do performance for the travelers when they go there. And here you see a group of women of Dongriya tribe wearing the white saris and the Kapad Gandha shawl. They are performing a dance for the travelers. Here you see another Dhangra Dhangri performance, but not the Dongariyas here. Here you find the Kutia Kons, beating the drums, and they are also performing. Actually during the festivals and during all the cultural events, they do this kind of performance, and where both man and woman come together, and it is actually a beautiful experience when the travelers go there and experience it. It's one of the most memorable experience for the travelers. The region has a very interesting and fascinating history. It was mysterious because once upon a time, not very far, until the end of 19th century, the the Koans would sacrifice humans periodically, especially before and after harvest, and with the belief that if they would plant human flesh, then it would yield better crops. So that is what is the belief. It was a very horrifying traditions. They would sacrifice a human, and they will actually it was a very barbaric traditions. Of course, with the long intervention of the British, this tradition was finally abolished. But instead of now humans, they do sacrifice a buffalo, and that is actually during March and April every year, just before the harvesting season or after the harvesting season. And in the memory, they erect a pillars with a beautiful iconography of the buffalo. So this is what you will find in most of the Panga Koan villages and also in the Kutia Koan villages. The region of High Central Odisha abounds in Aboriginal heritage. So it is hardly people will believe that the tribals also have a very interesting craft traditions, art traditions in the temples. So this area was actually ruled by the Bhanjas of Gumsar, which is actually in the coastal part of Odisha, and they were Hindu Rajputs. So they were ruling this part of Odisha till the British occupied it. So when they were ruling, so they had built several temples, mainly wooden temples. So one such village is called Porpoda, where you have a temple which is actually dedicated to the Nrsimha god. And on the panels of the temple, you will find such beautiful narratives which shows fusion of tribal and Hindu Sanatan. So you will find this is actually a tantric narrative. So this is how you have very rich tradition of Aboriginal wooden heritage in this part of Odisha. Agriculture is the backbone of Highland Central Odisha. The region has varieties of farming methods practiced by the tribal communities of Koans. So one of these agricultural practices is the Gudiya Chasa, which is actually carried out on the hilltops. So it is mainly meant for the dry farming, and you can go and experience it with the people, with the farmers, when they go early in the morning to the hilltops in the zigzag paths. It's a very tedious process, and they have to even remain there throughout the night, especially during the time of harvest, to protect the land from the intrusion of the elephants and other herbivorous animals. So mainly millet you will find in this farming. The other major farming method which is adopted here is sifting cultivation. It's also called Podu Chasa in Odia, and it is also called slash and burn cultivation or jhum cultivations in other parts of India. So a big patch of land, forest land, is cleared for the sifting cultivations, and this is where the agriculture is carried out for 5 to 10 years, and then it is again left fallow for rejuvenation. So this practice, sifting cultivation, has been quite successful, but at the recent time this is also creating a major problem environmentally because of the growth in population and other pressure from the development. Lot of forest is being cleared up, and the forest, as a result of what, the forest percentage has come down. The terraces of the mountain floors are used extensively for different kinds of rice. So as I have told before, that this area has been known for rice farming. So you have varieties of rice, and these rice, which we'll learn also in the later slides, so are the backbone and of the local economy, of the tribal economy, and they offer a panoramic view for the travelers, and you can actually go around it and meet people, the rice farmers, and they will also tell you about stories and different kinds of different varieties of rice, and some of them are also found climate change resilience. So this area is exceptionally rich in rice farming. The Highland Central Odisha is known for its agrodiversity. You have varieties of orchards, you have varieties of agriculture, the commercial crops as well as the sustainable crops. Like you have pineapples, you have turmeric, you have banana, you have mustard, you have rice, you have jackfruits, and then you have varieties of fruits. So this area is a hotspot for agrodiversity, and for tourists this is like you get the best of the fruits, and all organically grown. Then you have roots, tubers, and yams, and you have varieties of these roots, tubers, and yams, and women especially of all the tribes, like all the Kond tribes, they gather from the forest and from the fields, and this is actually consumed during the evening time as snacks, and also in the early morning as snacks. And these not only contain fiber, but it's also very very delicious. So this is how I think this is a unique food heritage of Central Highland Odisha for travelers. Then when we talk about Highland Central Odisha, the region has been traditionally practicing the climate change resilience indigenous seeds. So there are varieties of rice, as I said before. You have Swa chawda or Swa rice, you have Kuiri chawda or Kuiri rice. They are very tiny, like mustard seeds, and they give you a lot of their fragrance, and the taste wise they even beat the basmati rice. So you have varieties of rice. Besides, you have also beans, you have grams, you have millets, and there are various indigenous methods of processing these seeds. And it is said that they don't buy from the market, they are always kept and they are preserved in the home, and when the sowing season begins they start sowing them again. And this is how they have retained the traditional knowledge system, and which is actually for a traveler there is a lot of learning about the way traditional farming is done and why it is important when we talk about the climate change today, and how these climate change resilience seeds can protect our food habit. Now let's start about that how a traveler can be engaged in this Highland Central Odisha. So storytelling is one of the important aspects of these regions. The tribal communities who have been living here, they have amazing stories to share with, from history, from their traditions, from their myths, from the legends, from their sustainability. And when you go there as a traveler, you listen to their stories, and in the exchange you also share your stories to them. So there is an exchange of ideas, and that will be benefit, that will be win-win for both. So when you go there as a traveler, you try to buy the local crafts, because there are varieties of crafts made out of bamboo, made out of fabric, made out of dokra metal. So there are varieties of crafts, and if you buy them, sometimes you are also gifted. If you buy them, you actually are not buying a commodity, you are buying actually a story, and that is how it is very very critical, it's very important. They also feel good, and it is also a source of livelihood for them. Food, releasing local food is an important aspect of sustainable tourism. So when you go to the Central Highland Odisha, you release actually the traditional food, and which consists of varieties of fish, dry fish especially, because here there are not many rivers, unlike coastal Odisha. Here you will get mostly preparation of dry fish. Besides dry fish, you have varieties of rice, as I said before. Then you have varieties of grams, vegetables, all organically grown. And you try to have food, somebody's house. So then only you will realize and you will experience the authentic tribal food, and they will also feel happy, and in the return they also make some revenue through your gesture. So this is how I think you will be able to bond, you will be able to create a relationship, and that will be actually win-win for both. Another important aspect of their food is the todi, what they call solapa todi by solapa tadi, so which is fresh beverage, and you go in the morning, and they actually consume 3 times a day, and they will bring it down from the tree and give you fresh, and then you interact with the local native people over there, the families. with whom you are having the todi, and that is how you learn their stories. You also share your stories, and there is actually, it is very in a very informal setup, and that is how you create again a very strong bond with them. So when you are in the evening, try to attend their traditional dance. So they'll perform for you. Like we have already seen Dhangra Dhangri dance both among the Dongriakons and the Kutiakons. So but evening there are specific groups. They do performance for you under the light, and you also become part of them. You also dance with them, and that will be an amazing experience which you will never forget in your life. So then you can go for trekkings with the community storytellers. We don't call them guides because they are the people who have immense knowledge about their land, their history, their sustainability, their needs, their legends. So when you go with them on a trek in the mountains, you cross many mountain streams on your way, and then listen to their stories, and then also meet other people. Then sometimes you have tadi on your way. You enter to somebody's house, they will probably feed you also with their food. So this is going to be an amazing experience. In the post-COVID scenario, there is going to the local tourism, the sustainable tourism is going to play a very important role, because a lot of people migrate out, especially young people migrate out from this region to distant states like Kerala or Maharashtra or Gujarat, because there are not many opportunities for revenue generations. So the agriculture is also in stress because of climate change, because of market force. So there are famines, there are floods. So they go out, and young generation especially, they also don't like to do the agricultural practice. So they see that the opportunities are much more in the far distant states. But considering the present day situations, when they have returned back, so probably they would not go back again to the to the states where they were employed before. So here they can be employed as entrepreneurs, local entrepreneurs. They can host guests like us. They can be trek guides, and that can be cultural institution formed also, various dance groups and all. This region, as we have seen, has varieties of art, but unfortunately from the tourism point of view, the art or the folk art and the tribal art have never been exploited. So it is the high time that how we create women groups who have inclination for art, they can be employed, and then they can be trained, and you can actually create varieties of souvenirs for travelers, like the posters or merchandise like pillow covers or bed sheets, where the traditional art plays a very important role. So this can be a major source for the local employment, local revenue generation. Now I have come to the end, but I would call it the beginning, because this is now we are embarking on a new journey in Odisha, in Highland Center Odisha, for sustainable tourism, and so this is a new beginning. So I am going to end my presentation here with the word new beginning or the beginning. Thank you so much.